Environmental monitoring aspects. One of the conversations we hear a lot about is ppm, ppm 2.5, ppm 10, ppm 25, or whatever those numbers are. I think I'm close. Anyway, that refers to a particulate size. It turns out we've got some fairly newer instruments that are capable of measuring particle size, the physical size of a particle. So we can discriminate between a medium-sized particle and a small particle and then a really tiny particle. So that's the dust in the air. That is one aspect of environmental monitoring that we can do. We can do near real time. The EPA does this. But those new detectors are replacing some of the old methods and methodologies because we're looking at just these particles, not what's in the particles. That is the other part of the equation that gets missed in some of this ppm conversation. Particulates, dust in the air. So one of the things that used to be done very regularly, fairly expensive, it takes people and time and labs and resources, is besides measuring the size of those particles, they're collected in a very set and specific way over a set specific period of time using a simple filter type thing that collects those particles. Those particles are then taken to a lab and analyzed. The analysis is not, it might be radioisotope analysis, but the odds are it's chemical assays. They're looking for elemental IDing elements inside those particles, because that's what really sets the true harm, is how bad that particle is for you. We breathe all of our lives, so the particle size does matter. It does plug your lungs, but what is in that particle is just as important, is more important, because without that, you cannot do dosimetry. Okay, this is biological accumulation of elements in the human body. Another video. But that is one aspect of monitoring that we do. We collect through an air filter with an exact flow over a period of time. We know the particles were collected over 24 hours or a week or a month or whatever the testing cycle is for that type of filtration equipment, that type of sampling equipment. And it goes back to a lab that's worth more than the house anyone's sitting in. It costs more to build than you and I normally consider. So ppm, particulate measurements, they're being made simple in conversations, but there's still more to that conversation. What's in those particles? In the case of Portland, the particles had zinc and heavy metals from a glass foundry that was actually breaking moral laws, because in Europe, their plants there had to have better pollution equipment, and they did it. Yet here in America, they didn't bother because the rules are fuzzy. So there's a ppm incident. Now, ppm measurement wouldn't tell you anything about what was in those particles. It wouldn't tell you if you're going to be carrying an extra body burden of heavy metals because of where you live. So this is the challenge. When I speak to nuclear testing, when you go to isotope testing, most isotope tests are not for decay properties. They're elements at that point. They're solid, they're stable. They are the result of the decay of other radioactive products. The end product might be very harmful. It could be a lead, a mercury, an arsenic. Long list of other things, elements we can speak to that it could be, or long list of actinides, lanthanides, things that change the pH chemistry inside of you because they're huge. The way the electrons spin around them. It's really interesting shit I don't understand half of, but anyway, more pollution stuff. The ppm particle size measurements matter quite a bit. What's in those particles is the rest of the story we deserve. Eh? Now, all of this, the problem is takes maintenance, ongoing maintenance, recurring commitments to things. And for some reason, large corporations hate long-term commitments. They want instant profit. Figure out who's working against us, who's using our sciences and knowledge to pollute, to harm, to become rich and wealthy pigs. If Donald Trump isn't teaching this nation a lesson about wealth, about avarice, about enabling, about looking the other way, about tolerating bullshit, these fucking people they get kicked out of a kindergarten class. That's just me. Thanks for listening, folks. ppm, particulate size measurements, are important, but the rest of the story is just important. I don't think a Republican EPA can understand this or wants to understand it. If they can bust a union instead of doing the right thing, they'll bust a union. That's the way these bastards are. Libertarian wannabes hiding in a cloak of God, skirts of nothing. Good day. Peace out.